Kindly request everybody to be seated. The tea and drinks will come to your table, please. I request everybody to be seated. Chalu.
Morarji and Hirachand vowed to make the journey from Bombay to London on the 5th of April 1919. The SS Loyalty was set to sail with 250 passengers and 1,952 tons of cargo. People from across the nation gathered at the historic Bombay port to see India's first Swadeshi ship set sail from the Alexandria dock, now known as Indira Dock. Crowds cheered as the passengers got on the ship and cargo was loaded. A magnificent sight. Unforgettable, said Captain Kavasu Kurji about the ship. Passengers included the Maharaja of Kapurthala and the Maharaja of Kashmir. Great Indian freedom fighters like Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi sent in their wishes and even wrote about her in his Young India columns. As the ship moved out of the piers into the Arabian Sea, a new era of shipping in India had commenced. It reached Marseille on 23rd of April and finally London on the 14th of May. The British government, however, did not take kindly to such a momentous occasion in the freedom movement, and strict guidelines and sanctions were laid out to hurt the operations of the shipping company by denying it any cargo on its journey back to Bombay. It was detained for over 6 months in London. Nevertheless, the company, determined to make a difference, acquired a few more ships. Its trade was restricted to destinations like Burma and Sri Lanka after an agreement was reached with the British government. The SS Loyalty ran for a few more years before she was scrapped in 1923. Today, Walchand and Narottam are considered fathers of modern Indian shipping, and their contribution to this sector will forever be remembered. Thousands of years ago, the explorers may have conquered the sea on their great ships, but on the 5th of April, an ocean steamliner had conquered a young Indian's heart and determination. It was not the ship, but her journey that made her so powerful, striving to uphold the ideals of Swaraj and Swadeshi. She sailed with the hope of an independent India. The legacy of SS Loyalty still lives on in the heart of maritime traders and in the memories of the sea.
The theme of 59th National Maritime Day was is propelling India maritime to net zero. In the World Economy Forum Davos agenda virtual meeting hosted by world leaders, our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi introduced the P3 Pro Planet People movement that underlines the Indian climate change commitment. Quote, in this period, India has set the goals of high growth, a saturation of welfare and wellness. This period of growth will also be green. It is also be clean. It will also be sustainable. It will be also reliable, continuing the tradition of making big commitments and living up to them for global good. We have also set a target of net zero by 2070, said PM Modi, unquote. Our next generation will grow up in a world made of more dangerous and uncertain as a result of degraded environment, and we should try and ensure that Mother Earth is a better place to live by ensuring to put in place effective meditations. Taking forward the seminar, I would like to invite our speakers on stage and express their in thoughts on the theme and to start the seminar. I have no doubt that this will prove to be a thought-provoking conference on propelling Indian maritime to net zero. May I welcome on stage Sushil Kumar Sijaria. Sushil Kumar Sijaria is MEO Class 1 Marine Engineer. He has graduated from MNIT Bhopal. He sailed in merchant ships for 14 years and presently working with the Indian Registry of Shipping since 2007 as head of service station Kandla and Jamnagar, Gujarat. I kindly request you be seated. Our next speaker, I'd like to welcome Mr. Saurav Gupta. Eight. Introduction नहीं है. Saurav Gupta is from Ocean Sparkle Regional Head, Jamnagar. He completed his marine engineering from DMAT Kolkata in 1998 and then sailed with Great Eastern Shipping Company Limited and Anglo-Eastern Ship Management, Hong Kong, till the rank of Chief Engineer. He joined Ocean Sparkle Limited in 2009 at Sika branch as Technical Manager and in time elevated as Regional Head at Jamnagar and presently looking after the vessels plying in various ports under Saurashtra area. May I request him to be seated, please? Our next speaker, may I call upon Captain Pankaj Kumar Sinha. Captain Pankaj Kumar Sinha, Head Marine Operations at Dahej Petronet Limited. Earlier worked as Adani Ports Mundra as HOS Marine. He is an alumna of TS Chanakya 1998 batch. Sir, please be seated. Our next speaker is Sri Surendrapal Singh, MD, CEO, Ask Marine and Lifecraft Service Private Limited, Marine Engineering Officer, Class 1, MSc Trade Transport with Management UK, Executive MBA Oil and Gas, Mechanical Engineer MIIMS UK, FIEI MAR India. Lead Auditor Bureau Veritas. Mr. Singh was involved in port and harbour operations at various ports looking after operations, team management, budgeting, business development and dry docking of the vessels. New acquisition, contracts, renewal as Vice President with Ocean Sparkle and extensive experience on offshore vessels. As Chief Engineer and having sailing experience with main fleet of next one. Bar. As Chief Engineer and having sailing experience with main fleet with Anglo-Eastern, Maersk, NOL and previous been Senior Technical Superintendent, Shipbuilding Superintendent with Anglo-Eastern, Carnival Cruise, UK. He has been in the marine industry since 1983. He has also worked as a flag state surveyor for Marshall Islands Registry. May I request you to be seated? Okay. To present our first presentation, I welcome Sushil Kumar Sijaria on the podium to give his presentation. Number.
Respected Chief Guest, Captain Santosh Kumar Darukar, dignitaries from the marine fraternities, friends and colleagues, good morning to all of you. Today, I have been honored to give the presentation on 59th National Maritime Day for the vision propelling Indian maritime to net zero emission from greenhouse gases by 2070. I am going to present the administrative vision. There are the many issues which is there are many topics in brief is already covered by Captain Santosh Darukar. I will basically continue with those topics, but mainly giving emphasis on what is going on at present in Indian scenario. As you are aware, subsequent to the Kyoto Protocol 1997, there are the greenhouse gases was identified, those were responsible for the global warming. There are 6 gases, those are identified. Those are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, SF6, hydrofluorocarbons and parafluorocarbons. These are the 6 gases, those having the great potential for the global warming. Out of these gases, carbon dioxide contributes almost more than 98% for the global warming. Subsequently, in 2021, there was a conference held which is participated by almost 197 countries from all over the world, and this conference held at Glasgow, Scotland, UK. The goal of this conference was to contain the temperature rise up to 1.5 degree. All efforts has to be made to contain this temperature rise, because if we will continue like this, then there will be a temperature rise may be possible for more than 2.5 degree, and that will be a disaster for all over the world. In fact, we are now in the way of mid of climate change. You can see the various cyclones, forest fire, and landslide. So this is one of the effects which is happening due to the climate change. In COP 26, there was two major outcomes were recognized. Number one, to adopt urgent measure to cut greenhouse gases emission. And second one, to reduce the use of the coal. In fact, in this conference, there was a decision need to be taken to stop complete the coal fuel, but because of the agitation of the many countries, including India, this has been now postponed. So now this is decided that consumption of the coal to be reduced. In this, after this conference, there was a very, I can say, pressure was on Indian government to announce their strategies. USA was already announced the net zero vision by 2050. China announced their vision by 2060, and subsequently our government has also announced this net zero vision by 2070. Out of total emission, if you say by different industries, maritime sector contribute approximately 2.8% of the greenhouse gases emission. Out of this 2.8%, we say 70% contribution goes to our propelling vessels, and this is a area of concern which is to be controlled in future. Now, Indian administration, Indian maritime industry, the regulatory body, Director General of Shipping, is taken many of the initiative. Many of them is informed to us by Shri Captain Santosh Kumar Darukar ji. I will just like to further elaborate it. Government is giving encouragement for the use of the shore power to the port sectors. If you can see, many of the ports like Adani ports and many of the major ports now preparing for that. And the vessels, those who are coming alongside, they should not run their machinery so that emission can be reduced to a certain extent. Then second point, which is already in talks and the research is going on, and I was also one of the participants in the use of the biofuel. Ambuja Cement has done the experiment, use of the 20% of biofuel in their diesel engines, and the study was conducted with in association with Indian Register of Shipping. And the result was encouraging. Presentation was also made to DG Shipping, and many of the recommendations were accepted. In the future, similar experiment will be done, and the new outcomes will be there where administration will keep on developing the procedure and issuing the guidelines. Similarly, to avoid the emission of the greenhouse gases, vessels, those are newly built, going to be given a new chapter, I can say, a new thought process to use the hybrid propulsion systems. Those are not based on the diesel oil or heavy fuel oil. Few of them are, we already know, electric propulsion system, electro-hydraulic propulsion system, use of the solar energy. This is going to be the future. Recently, Kerala Water Wings already launched their ferries. Those are electrically propelled systems are fitted over there, and use of the solar energy is already in place. And this project is really very successful project. Can be a set a milestone for the industry. Other than this encouragement, government is already in place many of the rules and regulations by various circulars. So far, since 2012, Director General of Shipping published 3 circulars with respect to the greenhouse gas emission, and these circulars in future will be keep on revising, and new circulars will keep on coming subjected to the studies. I will just give a brief of these circulars. Engineer Circular 2 of 2012. This is basically, if you see, the energy efficiency certificate was introduced by this circular. This is the first initiative was taken by Government of India to control the greenhouse gases effects, where the engines are rated according to their built, and the energy efficiency certificate was issued. And second circular, which is published in 2018, this is requirement for the collection and reporting of fuel oil consumption data under IMO data collection scheme. This circular is published because to know where we are exactly, what is the status of our carbon emission. So data is collected from the various countries, and this data is collected by Indian Register of Shipping and will be sending to IMO for further studies. Then third circular, which is now very important, which I believe everybody is going to be affected in future. This is MS Notice 7 of 2021. This MS Notice 2021 is part of the greenhouse gases emission reduction. As Maritime IMO is already committed to reduce the 50% of greenhouse gases effect by 2050. So this circular MS Notice 2021 is actually accomplish the application of IMO Resolution 328/76 and Amendment to Chapter 4 of Revised MARPOL 96 enforced to Indian ships. These are the changes which is implemented by this circular. Actually, if you go back to before this circular, IMO is already forming a strategy for reducing the greenhouse gases effect, which is also in line our maritime vision, PM vision by 2070. The first, it is a greenhouse gas reduction study adopted in year 2018. In this vision, there are 3 levels of ambition is incorporated. Carbon intensity to decline through implementation of further phase of energy efficiency design index for new ships. The new ships, those who are built, there is a numerical calculations to be done for with respect to the emission of the greenhouse gases effect. This is applicable for all the vessels those built 1st of January 2013. Then to reduce CO2 emission per transport berth by at least 40% by 2030 and pursuing effort 70% by 2050 compared to 2008 level. As we already know, CO2 is one of the main ingredient for the global warming. So this has been targeted to reduce by 70% by 2050. For that, there are various measures will going to be adopted. Then third strategy, which is keeping in mind, because CO2 we can control by 70%, what about the other gases? So this is also be taken into account, and it is decided that 50% of the greenhouse gases will be emission will be reduced by 2050 with compared to 2008 level. Now this, how to do it? This is a question mark. Therefore, IMO is forming the strategy through the current strategy which is adopted 2018. In 2018, the SIM Part 2 is become mandatory, which is already known. Those who are telling, they know what is the SIM Part 2. And there are short-term measures were now already implemented, which is because of due to that this MS Notice 7 of 2021 is introduced. This is the short-term measures is already there. 2018 to 2013 the effort which has been done. Those are the short-term efforts. And the effort those were done in 2013, 23 to 2030 known as the midterm measures. And after 2020 the strategy also going to be formulated. Most probably in 2025-26 this MEPC meeting is going to be happen in detail, which will study what is the current scenario in that time and how much we have already gone through and how much we have to go. So these things will be going to be discussed in those meetings and will be published subsequently. So those all are the part of the long-term study. But so far because of this circular, there are new, you can able to hear the new terminology like EXCI, SEMP Part 3 and CII. These I will going to give a little briefing on subsequent slides. This IMO data collection is become mandatory from 2018 onwards. All vessels, all ships, merchant ships, more than 5,000
Hello,
GIT,
sir.
they
Hello.
supposed to send all this data to the Indian Register of Shipping and subsequently statement of compliance issued on board. And not only on this, all the vessels other than MS Act vessel, that means Indian River Sea vessels, those are registered under RSB Act and Indian Coast, what is this, ICV Act code. Those also to be give their details to our IRS for data collections. So although they do not need to carry the statement of compliance on vessel. Subsequent to the MARPOL Annex 6 amendment, there are new terminologies is introduced, EXCI and CAI. This is actually the adoption of the MEPC 76 and amendment to the MARPOL Annex 6. Actually, the reason was this, to why it is required, why these parameters are introduced, because to measure the competency of the ships, these two terminology has been introduced. Mandatory goal-based technical measures, energy efficiency existing ship index EXCI, and operational measure carbon intensity indicator to reduce CO2 emission from the Indian ship. This has become mandatory because this has to be defined in numerical terms, so that any ship is not meeting, the necessary measures can be taken by the ship owners. Now, little briefing about this EXCI applicability. This is applicable because of the amendment to the MARPOL Annex 6. There are two, I think.
Hello.
There are the two new regulations.
Hello, sir.
Regulation 23 and Regulation 25 are introduced, which is basically to giving a calculation for the attained EXCI and required EXCI. These regulations are applicable for all the ships 400 GIT and above. However, there are many vessel owners, those who are owning ships, those are not propelled, owning the FPSOs and FPSOs and non-conventional propulsions and polar code vessels, those are category A, need not to, this regulation is not applicable. So they need not to worry for these regulations. Now I am giving little briefing for the concept of energy efficiency existing ship index. This is similar to, this is actually a numerical parameter which is similar to the EDI.
Hello.
Which is
Hello, sir.
for the vessel those newly built after 1st of January 2023. This index is an index reflecting the amount of CO2 emitted by a ship to a cargo transport. The objective of EXCI to increase the energy efficiency of the existing ship. Actually, EXCI basically is a numerical formula which is giving the calculation for impact on environment to the benefit of society. where the power consumption, SFC, मतलब specific fuel consumption, dead weight and speed is taken into account.
Hello.
And there is a constant for various types of ships like bulk carrier, container. There are different, that particular constant is there, which is giving this EXCI value.
आपने लिंक भेजा है वो खुला है
Now
कॉन्फ्रेंस रूम
question
में
is that
आप कहाँ पे हो
what is the applicability of the Attain EXCI? The Attain EXCI shall be calculated for following ship type for certain DIT and above. The owners, those who are owning these kind of ships, they have to go ahead for the calculation part. Various ROs are providing the services to the ship owners. They can approach. The ships, those are applicabilities there: bulk carrier, tanker, combination carrier, container ship, cruise passenger ships, gas carrier, general cargo ships, LNG carrier, refrigerated cargo carriers, ro-ro cargo ships, ro-ro cargo ship, vehicle carrier, and ro-ro passenger vessels. These are the ships where the applicability of EXCI is there. Now come to the EXCI technical file. This EXCI calculation is very important parameter in the
तो
technical
अभी
file.
डिजिटल से कैसे कनेक्ट करेंगे आप
This the EXCI technical file contains information for the calculation of the Attain EXCI, the process of calculation and business description. The EXCI technical is to be submitted to RO for verification of EXCI and for the approval. This is the little bit
फंक्शन है ना
procedure I am just giving you as a in the slide so that everybody should aware, as we are already now gearing up. Verification that ship's approval EXCI technical is available on board on the first annual survey, intermediate survey or renewal IEPP survey, whichever is first on after 1st of January 2023. So this is very important. 1st January 2023 is the date where this regulation become applicable, and all the vessels, those are affected because of the changes should have to start the procedure.
आप कहाँ दिखाई नहीं दे रहे मुझे
And actually calculation all these things is okay, but measures, taking the measures to reduce this value is really a very costly process.
नहीं अभी सिर्फ इतना पूछना है कि ये बंद कर दूं या आप कैसे नहीं डीजी साहब अगर
A little bit briefing for the EDI requirement. Actually this
इसको बंद कर दूं मैं फिर
particular terminology, energy efficiency design, is applicable for the new ships which is built after 1st of November 2013 and prior to 1st November 2022. And what about the other ships, those not built in this year? So those vessels, the applicability goes to EEXI, where the ships, those are not the new ship, the EXI to be calculated. So that a ship can be determined how it is efficient, how much carbon it is emitting, what step they have to taken. So this calculation should be less than the required EXCI. This required EXCI is a technical term, another technical term which has been published by the IMO, and its value is keep on reducing every year because there is a set target by 2030 the emission of the CO to be reduced by 40%. So every year there is a target. Some in a particular year for a particular ship the reduction factor is 15%. In certain year the reduction factor is 5%. So in this way this value keep on changing every year. So this particular calculation is to be done, and believe me, this is not an easy process and this is a very costly affair for all the ship owners. So awareness is very important. Now if suppose any vessel whose Attain EXCI is more than the required EXCI, Attain EXCI means whatever the calculation has been done by the various calculation and methodology, and they are not able to achieve their targets, then there are various solutions are given in the various circulars and by the ROs they can advise. Some of them I just highlighted in the slides. The solutions are the engine power limitation. This is one of the most acceptable solution for all the ship owners, because our vessel is already, I believe, average is more than 10 years. So changing the engine and other thing is very difficult, but engine power can be limited. Then other energy saving devices can be fitted, which will improve the efficiency of the engine, so that greenhouse gases effect and CO2 emission can be reduced further. This is the fitting of optimizing bulbous bow, draft of lifting the dead weight, vortex generator fins, pre and post swivel fins, propeller boss cap, optimizing propeller design, air lubrication system. There are the few Navy vessels is already built as according to air lubrication system, and their results are really encouraging. They are able to achieve the good speed as well as economy in the fuel and reduction in greenhouse gases also. Then use of the alternative fuel. My colleagues Saurav may cover in detail this alternative fuel. Then engine power limitation. This is just little bit requirement I am just giving in my presentation. This is the, I already said, this is the most common considered method for compliance with EXCI. It is verified and approved system for limitation of the maximum engine power by technical means that can only be override by the ship's master and officer in charge of navigation watchkeeping for the purpose of securing the ship's safety of ship or saving life at sea. If not, this is a non-permanent but should require the deliberate action to the ship's master or OIC and officer in charge for navigation watchkeeping to enable the use of unlimited swap rubber engine power of the ship. So EPL system should be accomplished by approved onboard management manual. There is a one and management manual will be there for that is everybody has to prepare, where these all guidelines will be given for shaft power limitation and engine power limitation. This is just a pictorial representation for the present vessels. There are the engine, those fitted with the mechanical governors. Their linkage can be secured and there will be sealed. There should be a record is to maintain on board, and electronic control governor where the manufacturer will lock the electronically to the governing system and the fuel rack, so that required amount of fuel will be discharged to the cylinders, and in this way they can ships can able to achieve the required EXCI. This is a little bit pictorial presentation of various energy saving device. Propeller boss fin cap, duct, pre and post swirler, etc. Optimization of the design so that fuel consumption can be minimized. Just to give an initial briefing, what is going to be checked after 1st January 2020 for the vessel more than 500 GRT and above. There should be approved operation maintenance manual should be available on board. Verification of compliance of the system in accordance with approved management manuals. This manual should be on board and verification will be done. Sealing device for mechanical control engines to be recorded. Electronic locking of the fuel rack or direct limitation of the power in the engine control, that will be going to be verified. Ship's crew cannot release this EPL without permission of the ship's master or officer in charge of navigation watchkeeping. Whatever the locking system is there, that should be tamper proof. It cannot be done without the permission of the master and officer in navigation watchkeeping. The desired criteria is that where technically feasible and possible, system should be controlled from ship's bridge and not require the attendance in the machinery space by ship's personnel, because in the machinery spaces the fuel rack and other thing can be adjusted. So this is not a desired feature because of the reduction factor which is accepted by the particular vessel. Now there is a condition where the engine power limit can be override. In case of there is a situation where the safety of life is jeopardized, if operating in adverse weather condition and ice infested waters, participation in search and rescue operation which may arise at any time. Then in case any pirate attack is there, then we need maximum propelling power. In such situation, this EPL system can be override, but this override should be notified to the administration and RO and relevant port authority. Now this is a very important parameter which I believe everybody has to pay attention. This is carbon intensity indicator. The CI is a operational measure of ship's energy efficiency which is introduced by regulation 26.3.1 and regulation 28 of MARPOL Annex 6, and this is very much applicable for the vessel 500 GRT and above. This CII value is to be calculated by all the ships, and according to this calculation the ships will be graded. The grading will be A, B, C, D and E. If vessel is graded A, then it is a major superior. If vessel graded with B, then there is a minor superior. Graded C is a moderate. If graded E, then minor inferior, and E there is a inferior performance level vessel. This is the cause of the worry for all the owners because this involves lot of cost involvement. A rating can be assigned to comparing the attained annual operational CII of a ship, which is the boundary value, because these attained value required value keep on changing every year. So today suppose it is 10, it may be 9 for next year, it may be 8 for subsequent years. So suppose a bulk carrier required CII is specified in 10 grams per CO2 per ton nautical mile and attained CII is 9 gram per CO2 per ton per nautical, then their rating, this rating will be B. Now the question is those vessels attaining the grade D and grade E, they have to take certain measures for grade D vessels to bring down to the C, but the C is the desired level, C desired grading which is to be achieved, otherwise ship has to be scrapped. This is the consequence of this grading system. In case of D, there is a 3-year programs to be implemented, which is the part of the SIM 3, which is to be detailed in their SIM 3 documentation, how they are going to achieve the grade C, what measures they are going to take. Maybe the engines to be modified, maybe use of some alternative fuel, maybe some energy efficient devices has to be fixed up. So there are various various technical experts are nowadays available in this field. This is a very wide topic. And if it is any vessel is obtained a grade E, then immediately within 1 year this grading has to be downgraded. The various immediate measure has to be implemented. So these regulations related to EXI and CIS for existing vessel will going to be reviewed by January 26. January 26. So where our administration will also participate and will share their requirement and the regulation subsequently to that. Now there is a draft or discussion is going on with respect to the FSI and PSI requirements. So subsequent to after 1st of January 2023, during the FSI inspection or PSC inspection, the availability of the IEC certificate, EXI technical file, SEMPT part 1, 2, 3 become mandatory. Evidence of master and crew familiarization, which is very important because many times the documents are there but the familiarization is not there. That will also become a question mark, and this is also part of the inspection, flag state inspection and PSC inspections. Valid statement of compliance to be on board, which is for the last 5 years, which is a requirement. Because many times what happens, the owners are keep changing from one of the vessel frequently, so these documents are become important for the calculation point of view, because this vessel is going to some other recognized organization. They also have to keep all these records for their further transmitting the data to IMO. Then if any overriding is there for engine power limitation, this is to be notified, to be recorded. The evidence should be there for information to administration, RO or relevant port authority. And after any engine power limitation EPL system is activated, it has to be verified by RO or flag state or from the port state authority. This is just a discussion is going on. Maybe many of the recommendation will become compulsory or implemented from the various regulations. That's all from my side. That is the little bit presentation for this Indian present scenario. What is going to be happen and how we can way forward for net zero emission as per the in line with the PM vision. So that's all from my. If anything is there, definitely all the question that will be welcomed in subsequent session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your slides. It was very informative to everybody and getting us ready for the next action plan on our annual surveys and other surveys. Okay, I kindly request Sri Saurav Gupta to present on the ship's owners' perspectives.
Honorable Chief Guest, Captain Santosh Darukar, Captain Mohit Bahl, NMDC members, and all delegates. Namaskar and very good morning to all. Today we are celebrating 59th National Maritime Day, and theme of this year is propelling Indian maritime to net zero. Today I am representing ship owners' point of view. What all difficulties, challenges and strengths are there to achieving this net zero? First we go, what is net zero? Net zero means the effective emissions of greenhouse gases should be nil by maintaining balance between positive and negative emission. Either we do the zero emission, or if we emit something, then we have to remove that much emission from the environment. So effectively that will come to the net zero. As per 4th IMO greenhouse gas study, the emission include carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, excluding CO2 emission. The total shipping emissions increased from 977 million tons in 2012 to 1076 million tons in 2018. That is 9.6% increase. In 2012, 962 million tons were CO2 emissions, while in 2018, this amount grew 9.3% to 1056 million tons. But the share of shipping emission in global emissions is only 2.8 to 2.9%. And we are committed to reduce this 2.8% to zero. The commitment for achieving net zero. IMO has agreed to reduce total greenhouse gases by at least 50% by 2050, that is from 2008 base levels. for the shipping industry. Worldwide shipping industry accounts for 2.8% of global greenhouse gases and pollutant emissions. In this, 87% of CO2 emissions is coming by the international shipping, while the domestic shipping with an 8% and fishing with 5%. And this is an estimated growth expected by 250 to 52 to 50% in emissions. The UK hosted the 26th UN Climate Change Conference of the Parties in Glasgow in October-November 2021, where our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi announced that India will achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2070. So we as the ship owners also committed for the same. We have to achieve the target as committed by our leaders. So our India's 5 new pledges are: by 2030, we are achieving non-fossil fuel energy capacity increasing to 500 gigawatt. By 2030, 50% energy requirement from renewable sources. Will cut down its net projected carbon emission by 1 billion ton from now until 2030. By 2030, India will bring down carbon intensity of its economy by more than 45%. And by 2070, India will achieve the target of net zero. What is the effect of net zero commitment on maritime industry? Now the pressure is growing from multiple directions for the shipping industry to decarbonize. There are many alternative fuels exist to reduce or remove all emissions from fuel, but they are still not competitive with fossil fuels which we are using today. And due to this, they face a range of barriers for the entry in the market. So there are the IMO administration comes in the force to make the policies to force the ship owners to change and adopt new instruments for the shipping. IMO has adopted mandatory measures to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases under MARPOL. They have made the EEDI mandatory for new ships and ship energy efficiency management plan stream for the vessels. In the market, several potentially viable technologies are available, but they are still at different stage of maturity in innovation and implementation. This option includes batteries, biofuels, hydrogen-based fuels, carbon-based fuels, nuclear and wind power. Although not all can meet the fuel energy density requirement for larger deep sea vessels. Now the alternatives for achieving net zero for maritime industry. The shipping industry's current fuel profile remains almost exclusively dominated by emission-intensive fossil fuels. The most common marine fuels, heavy fuel oil, very low sulfur fuel oil, and MGO. All are used in internal combustion engines. Recently, the LNG was introduced, and that was told it is the clean fuel. But now studies came that it reduces only up to 20% the emissions. So ship owners invested lots of money in the changing ships to LNG vessels, but now they are in dilemma what to be done with these ships. We cannot achieve net zero with this CNG fuel. Now with these fuels, it is unlikely to achieve the IMO goal of 50% greenhouse gas emission by 2050. But still, we are committed to reduce as much as possible by adopting new technology. As a ship owner, I'm still looking for what to be done. By 2050, I have to reduce my emissions. A ship's average life is around 25 years. So by 2025, if I'm going to make a new ship, I have to adopt new technology. So I'm still looking at the market. Where is the research and where is the machinery available which I can fit in my ships? Still all under trial phases. So in 2025 to 2030, whatever ships are being made, they will be scrapped much before the time. So there will be a very huge loss for the ship owners. Yeah, a ship owner is the service provider actually. So all the rules, compliance is being done, then it will be followed by the ship owner only. He has to adopt, he has to follow. So now I'm going to the various options available in the market and the positive and negative for this. All zero emissions fuel can be characterized as either zero carbon or net zero carbon. Zero carbon fuels include ammonia, hydrogen, and battery power. And battery power is which is generated by using carbon electricity sources such as solar, wind, and nuclear. Other fuel options include nuclear power or sail-assisted vessel. But nuclear may be difficult due to regulatory, political barrier, and sails will be expected to only operate alongside a complementary means of propulsion. So there may be 2 or 3 propulsion systems to be adopted, and it will be very costly affair actually as an option. As for the batteries, then batteries are a very good option for the propulsion system or for the power system. They store electric power with very high responsive and they are technically attractive both because they represent a direct use of electricity which is more efficient in terms of propulsion than other technologies, and because of its electricity source is renewable, they have the potential to be zero carbon. Battery power is established commercially viable technology, already relatively cheap and will still decline in cost. However, battery propulsion has its limitation for the size and quantities as the vessel needs quite large number of big batteries as compared to the present marine fuels. So, in deep sea vessels, it will not be possible to store batteries because of its weight and size and space requirements. Batteries can be used in small crafts, ferries, tugs, boats, but in main fleet vessel it won't be possible. It won't be practically actually. Now if we go to the alternate of the batteries, it's biofuels. Biofuels are currently commercially available alternate of the zero emission shipping. They are made of organic feedstock such as oil, sugars, waste, or hydrogenated vegetable oil. Biofuels can be considered carbon neutral where enough CO2 equivalent is sequestered in production to offset emissions from combustion. Biofuels are logistically attractive because they can be easily integrated into existing systems without much modifications, as they are compatible with existing engines, onboard system, bunkering infrastructure. They can form a part of bridging philosophy of decarbonized shipping. but there remains no clear consensus on whether there is sufficient sustainable biomass for shipping as well as for the other sectors. If I change my ships to biofuel, later I don't have the idea if biofuel is available or not. Then how do I run my ship? There's still no clear idea how much supply of the biofuel is there, because the biofuel is required by many industries. Another option is going for the fossil fuel, which we are using today, with the carbon capture and storage. Means use of hydrogen-based shipping fuel produced from fossil fuels coupled with carbon capture and storage. This involves using fossil fuels to convert water to hydrogen and then using CCS to pull out the CO2 from the exhaust generated by burning the fossil fuel use. And this CO2 to be injected in subsurface geological formation for permanent storage. By this method, the fuel produced are called blue hydrogen, blue ammonia. This system also has problems. This is the taking out of the upstream emissions from the production of fossil fuels generally are not being captured. The difficulty of fully capturing carbon emissions from combustion and potential for further investment in gas and CCS infrastructure, diverting investment away from genuine net zero carbon energy technologies. So we cannot capture fully the CO2 emitted from the vessels, and we have to store it, and then we have to deliver it to somewhere where we can keep it in some geographical area underground. Another technology is in the market is negative emission technology. That means the present fuel to continue as main source of propulsion energy, but system is coupled with the emissions being offset by some form of negative emission technology. That is, whatever we emit, we pull out from the atmosphere. And this is same injecting into subsurface geological formation for permanent storage. The cost of this pulling out CO2 from atmosphere, the machinery, the technology is very costly right now. So as a ship owner, if I have to invest too much in the money and I don't know what's the return. Ship owner is a businessman actually. He do work for the business. He follow the administrative guidelines and still make profit. If I involve too much in this shipping, then where is the profit? I have to get the better charter rate and better facilities from the administration. Now synthetic carbon fuels are also there. They can be hydrogen or carbon based. This includes synthetic methane, methanol and diesel. Green syn fuels conventionally refers to fuel produced using renewable electricity and whereby enough CO2 is captured from the atmosphere to offset emission from combustion. E-fuels are comparable to conventional fuels and they can make use of existing bunker infrastructure. But this also requires retrofitting of the systems. So it's not clear how widely other ship engine types can be viably retrofitted this way. The major obstacle to syn fuels use is that carbon-based syn fuels generally need to include direct air capture, which is currently only provided at high cost methane and methanol syn fuel, and direct air captures of CO2 are not yet available in sufficient commercial quantity or at competitive price. Now we come to green hydrogen. Hydrogen does not emit any CO2 when combusted to generate power. Green hydrogen production from water through electrolysis. Electrolysis is done by the renewable electricity. Use commercially mature technology that has been proven at scale. The one-step production process make it less energy intensive to produce than synfuels or ammonia, and gives it's a cost advantage over ammonia and synfuels on an energy content basis. Hydrogen is basically now used in the cars. Their designs are there, but in shipping is still to be proven, because the main obstacle of hydrogen is storage and transportation. Liquid hydrogen requires cryogenic storage, greatly increasing the cost on board and onshore storage. Hydrogen is very flammable, and safe storage is very cost intensive. The storage demands also reduce the overall process efficiency on an energy basis, and there is no existing distribution and bunkering infrastructure available. So if we use to hydrogen, then a lot of work to be done for distribution and bunkering and storage. And it's very explosive and flammable. So on board to store, the safety is also a concern. Now another is green ammonia. Now green ammonia has been identified as promising long-term net zero carbon fuel in the shipping sector. Ammonia is more than double the volumetric energy density of liquid hydrogen and can be stored in liquid form at atmospheric pressure and relatively normal temperatures. It possesses a much lower fire risk than hydrogen and hydrocarbon fuels. Although it is highly toxic and corrosive, but is still in use for too many years. So the safe handling, storage, transport is already existing. It is less energy and cost intensive to store and transport than hydrogen, and since ammonia supply chains already exist, it's supported by an existing global logistic infrastructure. The problems: ammonia is not very compatible with existing bunkering infrastructure and cannot be burned in existing internal combustion engines. So now to use the ammonia, we need to modify the machinery. Now we have to invest in the new machineries for the new vessels. We are still looking for the new designs, new machinery, new technology which can be cost effective. The work is going on, and it is possible within 3 to 5 years the machinery will be available for the ammonia. And still we have to do lots of modification in the present technology to use the ammonia, because it cannot burn on itself. We have to move the pilot fuel to burn the ammonia. Now all the talks are for net zero. We have to survive in the maritime industry. There is still lots of difficulty in using various alternative fuels and technologies, as they are required very specialized construction modification in the existing machinery or complete replacement of present combustion engines, which shall have a great impact on ship owners and shipping industry. Everything is under trials, research, and we are targeting net zero by 2070. So there are some suggestions from the ship owner's point of view. For the setting up the rules with keeping the ship owners and ship owners' interests in mind, so we can work together to achieve the net zero. Now, to make infrastructure and provide facilities for uninterrupted supplies of alternate fuels in all major and minor ports. So that's why I'm going to anywhere ports. I know the bunkers are available for my ships, which technology I'm using. Both for Make in India and Net Zero, we have to promote research and development and facilities for new ideas for eliminating emissions. And to provide facility infrastructure to ports for generation of green energy by wind, solar, alternate fuels to supply this energy to coastal harbor crafts as well as ships calling to the ports to reduce emission in ports. Now, if the owner wants to use this new technology, then he should be promoted and facilitated with the for the his investment by the government or by the ports and by the charters. And least for the new technology, the training part for the seafarers should also be planned. For the future generation, they have to be the work on the ships. So they should be trained properly for the safety, new technology, and to make the target of net zero. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I kindly request Captain Pankaj to present on the port's point of view. Please welcome.
Respected Captain Daroka sir, Captain Bahal sir, fraternity members, colleagues, and upcoming mariners, a very warm good morning to you. The topic under discussion is Ports Roadmap to Net Zero. So let us understand what is net zero. No, it's okay, sir. The net zero means whatever carbonaceous gases or greenhouse gases are produced are simply recycled by the environment. Why is the concern? The concern is because the temperature, the average global temperature is on the rise. Presently, it's said that we are 1% higher temperature than what was pre-industrial revolution era. And at 1.5, the things will be very bad. So we need to work out means to control the global warming. So various conventions has been drawn. The major one was COP21 Paris Convention, and then where all the countries came up for a common agenda. So the common goal which was decided was to generate 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022, 100 gigawatt of out of which the 100 gigawatt should be of solar, 60 of wind, 10 of biomass, 5 of small hydro power. Now to attain the goal as determined by the government, how can a port assist? The port has emissions from the three sides, from the shore side, from the electricity consumption of the equipment, and from the third party equipment. The emissions from the shore side are basically of the waterfront equipment like tugs, harbor crafts, ships, and all other aspects. Emission from the shore equipments are like again diesel powered cranes, stacker reclaimers, vehicles, and other port equipment. Now, how to control the water emissions from the waterfront equipments like ships and hovercraft? Use of power generation through solar panels, from wind turbines, plantations, and other alternate forms of fuel. The alternate form of fuel is the LNG. LNG has got a sulfur and nitrogen content practically nil, so we don't emit any greenhouse gases. But the concerns are supply of LNG to the ships. Now, setting up the LNG tanks at the port involves a big capex item, and also transportation of LNG from an installed tank to a nearby port again involves waste of LNG by the way of boil off and other boil offs. So LNG cannot be transported to a greater distance, and also setting up a LNG cryogenic tanks and within the port premises involves big capex. So supply of LNG to the ships gets affected there. The second thing is the battery. Battery has been tried on the harbor crafts, but again the constraints which we have faced is the space. The existing harbor craft doesn't have the enough space to store the battery required for the movement. But battery is a very good is a very big potential. If in the upcoming harbor crafts, if we can define certain things like the storage of batteries and all, it will be a great aid to control the emissions. Solar panels, biogas. Solar panels can be installed in the port premises. There are a lot of open areas, open spaces where we have done it, and it can be installed. Now another one is providing the shore power to the ships. Normally for harbor craft, we have almost reached a place where we are providing shore power to all the harbor craft. So harbor crafts can be provided the shore power. The maximum requirement for them is 125 amps, which can easily be attained from the shore power installations. So harbor craft shore power installation is not a major challenge. The challenge comes up providing shore power to the bigger ships. The bigger ships mainly they need 66 kVA line, and those are not readily available at all the ports. The second thing is synchronization. When we connect the power cable to the ship, that is a place where the synchronization may go off and is a cause of concern. These are greenhouse gases, carbon gases, methane, ozone, which we have gone through in the various slides also. We can see as per the recent data, India is not a major contributor of emissions. Major one comes from the China and the USA, but still we are committed to reduce the greenhouse gases to minimum. The intention is by 2030 we should be reaching to net zero. That's all from my end, sir. That's all. Any questions, any discussions we can attend in the subsequent forum.
Thank you, sir. May I request SP Singh to present on the service providers views. Thank you.
Respected Principal Officer Sir, Captain Bell, CEO Badinar, Commander from INS Balsura, distinguished guests, and the cadets, training cadets over here. It's pleasure to see all of you assembled over here to having a discussion onto the industry aspect as to how we can reduce the carbon house gas emissions. Yesterday, while I was browsing through this first page of mine, and then my daughter comes up and she asked me, Papa, this I have read in my 5th standard, carbon house gas. So why are you, just preparing these slides? I said, look, you may have been given into the school the lecturing, but then we have to implement, and that is how we go ahead. We got to be at the lighter side of it. I think everybody has been a very, very serious listener because of the 3 people, those who have already, distinguished speakers, those who have already spoken. Industry means we all, those who have assembled over here, we will have to give a very serious thought. As per the global, estimate that we are the what is greenhouse gas emission, as I have already spoken. So I will just quickly go through all my slides as the time is also limited. We are the 3rd, polluter as far as the industry is concerned after US and the China. And of course, if you see the graph lately, the graph had come down little bit because of the reason that we all are aware of, that was the COVID. So, proceeding ahead, I would just take you through the Indian vast coast, which has got around 12 major ports and 200 non-major ports. There is always an evolving ports infrastructure, the build-up of new ports, and as we all also are aware that 90% of India's trade by volume is conducted by the shipping lanes worldwide, and there is a need of the industry. Industry has also, it is to be specified. I have just made a slide whereby, oh sorry, I am just a bit late in presenting the slides, and we all are falling under the industry. Ministry of Ports and Shipping, Director General of Shipping is an executive body. Indian Register of Shipping, which is really making sure that all the ships, those who are doing the international trade, are following the rules and regulations to make the shipping lanes safe for the trading purposes. Offshore drilling units, shipbuilding yards, marine workshops, whether it be a fisheries, marine aquaculture units, they are all a part of the industry. And let's say while we sit into the offices and manage the affairs of the vessels around, we too also have to really give a thought as to how well that we can reduce the effect of the greenhouse gases. We all have the responsibilities, including the the trainees, institutes, honorable members from the institutes have also come. I think this is a great lesson to learn. When we look at our, so this offshore drilling units that also form the part of the industry. The shipyards, whether they are the scrap yards or the shipbuilding yards, they are also a part of the industry. Marine services providers, the alang, the state of the yard that I really feel sorry to say, but we will have to really take care of whether this alang shipyard should be there in India or not, the scrap yard. So I think the major polluter, which probably the government has to rethink in terms of strategy planning. The marine workshop service providers, we all are equally responsible, and we got to really seriously think in terms of how well that we can reduce the greenhouse effects in the future. The refineries, my good friends over here, they too also working into the refinery as to how well that we can, keep our system intact and follow the international norms to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So I'm somehow not still in sync with the the industry sector produces goods and raw materials. As we all know, carbon dioxide emissions can be caused by the energy used at the factories and other facilities to run machines, process raw materials, computers, connect to the internet, heat and cooling spaces. The greenhouse gases are also emitted. The main reason of greenhouse gases emission from the industry, like the industrial units, especially the refineries, is directly or indirectly. Direct emissions, I think the time, because of paucity of time, I will not be able to tell you all in details, but let me go further. The idea is to understand as to how well that we can be prepared for the future. If we have the leakages around in the industry by means of the direct and indirect emissions, how do we take care of all that? Then carbon capping probably is the technology which can be utilized in reducing the greenhouse gases effect. Reducing energy use is also another step which can be taken by the industry. Rewarding green commuters. I think we have to be very practical and pragmatic in our approach, and we literally thinking about as to how do we contribute as an industry. Encouraging employees to switch over to the public transportation, carpooling, biking, telecommunication, and other friendly commuters can be add up and have tremendous effects. Employers can offer computer benefit that address limited or expensive parking, reduce trafficking, congestion, improve employer recruitment and retention. I think the training part is also that plays an important part for all of us. In Western countries, when we see people cycling, we see, we always feel that he is a poor guy who's going on a cycling. Why is he not taking this, cars? But then, well, they do understand the effects of the carbon gas emissions and how to reduce it. The technology which is being brought up these days, I can say that carbon zero emission buildings by means of wood structural buildings that are also coming up. As they say that 800 kg of carbon removal per cubic meter can be affected by means of using this carbon, this wooden structural buildings. So while I was in the UK and shipbuilding superintendent with the Anglo-Eastern, on a tour to the London, we saw the green buildings everywhere. And to our surprise, we were wondering as to why they have the only green buildings and not other buildings. So finally, later on in our, when we came down to the Asian continent and we started reading about the greenhouse gases effect, then we realized as to why the technology is already developed into these countries, developed countries, and they are really cautious about how to take effect of the greenhouse gases. Industrial good practices. The industry sector is an important direct and indirect source of greenhouse gas emissions, as I have already spoken. And next one expert group, that is the countries, those who have already reached enough and they have taken steps to get rid of this greenhouse gases. They have the policies to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions in industry with a voluntary approaches, trading, tax and trading system already in existence, which probably as an industry we can always think about. Two more elements in the greenhouse emission, and secondly greenhouse gas emission from the industrial processes. Uh, Volunteer approaches is a very important step towards reducing the greenhouse gases effect. And I can say that energy management framework has already in existence into the developed countries, whereby we can really manage our day-to-day functioning of how well that we can save the energy. I think I don't have to go in the details. I'll just keep on moving forward. We can also achieve our goal, and the idea is to if we really work out through these processes, we can have the efficient functioning around in the industries. uh, Next slide. We all have seen, probably all the mariners, masters and chief engineer auditors, that ISO says us to plan, do, act, check and act. This is an ISO standardization, but ISO standardization was towards the improvement in the office's functioning, and then came the environmental norms, that is a 14,000. But then energy saving norms are also future coming in the future very soon, and that would be around 50,001 energy audits, which will be required for us to ensure that our workplaces are efficient enough and they are saving the energy. Buildings are also being made energy free. I mean, greenhouse emission has been can be reduced with the smart buildings that are already in existence in the European countries. My people have already spoken much about the solar paneling, hydro system. Transportation also can be introduced in a better way, which our government has already started making sure that people are getting used to these kind of hydrogen fuel cell cars. What is needed today is the infrastructure and the desire by the government to keep going this system further ahead. As we say, the leaders have to set in the example. So Mr. Our honorable Union Road Minister has already in the last week itself has shown to all of us that yes, we are in the right direction. Land use also has an important in energy saving. As we can see by the picture that yes, what is the purpose, and deforestation can cause so much of damage to the environment. So plantation is also a means of whereby we can take care of our CO2 oxygen needs and repel the CO2 through the plants. Yeah, this is an best example as to the trees, they give away the oxygen and absorb the CO2 system oxygen. Industrial policies and its implementation. We are not having a sync yet as yet, and I think we'll have to form the baseline as to how well that industry in coordination with the regulations we can carry forward and make sure that in the greenhouse gases effect is reduced. Policies which are to be economically efficient and minimize the impact of competitiveness, that is also to be seen. They also need to be feasible to implement and provide encouragement to invest in a low carbon future. I'm just moving forward. a little bit on innovations. Carbon capture and sequestration in the sub-seabed. That is a new innovation that has been brought up in the industry. The building blocks of low carbon economy and cover engineering. Carbon engineering, I mean, it's a new concept which has been already introduced into the Canada, which also brings down the level of the CO2 into the atmosphere. This is what is the example of it. How to achieve low carbon atmosphere. De-emphasize onto the fossil fuels. Rapid expand installed renewable capacity. Build out transmission infrastructure and accelerate smart grid deployment. Develop large scale and long term storage facilities. Mobility, industrials and manufacturing, they are all part of the industries whereby we got to really take care of. There are means and ways of reducing the greenhouse gases effect. Food and land use, negative emission system is also there. I think as far as the government policies are concerned, a few lines onto that. The Clean Maritime Plan is the environment roadmap of Maritime 2070, setting out in more detail how government sees the transition to a future of net zero emission in shipping. It encompasses the maritime executive summary commitments within the clean air strategy to ensure that the sector takes the steps necessary to protect human health and the environment from air quality pollutants. At the same time, it recognizes the need for all countries to take action to address emissions and of greenhouse gases. Initial IMO strategy on the reduction of greenhouse gases from ships to commit the maritime sector globally to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gases from shipping by at least 50% by 2050 compared to 2008. I leave it for the government to plan their strategies towards the maritime. With this, I will just conclude my presentation and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir. The subject is very vast. Lot of doubts, lot of clarifications, lot of technical matters, lot of commercial matters. The time required to clarify this may be very long. So, anybody has any queries with respect to this? Yeah. Yes.
As Captain Anuruddh was saying, it's a huge subject, and multiple facets to it. You have the financials, you have the technical, you have a little bit of humanitarian also, something you're looking for your kids' future. So I know and lot of ideas were thrown up, never heard of ammonia, liquid hydrogen, how that can be incorporated into a system. But we are running extremely short of time. And our guest of honor, Chief Guest Sir, has to leave also because he's got a commitment in the evening. So what we shall do is, with the kind permission of the presenters, speakers, we will share their presentations with you So you can take their emails and you can send your questions directly to them and seek whatever you require. I think everybody agrees to that? Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thank you everybody for your understanding. I would like Captain Mohit Bail, NMDC Chairman, for the vote of thanks and facilitation. Facilitation and vote of thanks. Facilitation.
Thank you, Captain Anirudh, for being such a nice master of the ceremony. We come to the felicitation part of it. May I request our chief guest, Captain Darokar, Principal Officer, MD Kanla, to come on the dais, please, sir. What fabulous presentations. And to help our chief guest, we have the women power in Indian Maritime, the future of Indian Maritime, to assist them in disbursing the this for me? This is for me, so I am the first one.
Give me 1 minute. Recently, we have pinned the first flag to His Excellency, the Honorable Governor of Gujarat, Sri Acharya Devratji, on 30th of March. These are the precedents. Basically, the first flag is pinned to the Honorable Prime Minister by the Honorable Minister of Cabinet Minister at a central level, and the respective maritime states, there is a precedence of particular committee to pin the flag to the governor of that particular state. So we have pinned the first flag on 30th of March. So this is a what you call token of appreciation to this committee. I think all should come. You, Mr. What you call Sabuji, please, and all this should come. And this is for the chairman and everybody. Please. Just give a background. This is a photographs which indicates, basically resembles the voyages of Gandhiji. How he has made the voyages through ships from 1988 to 1931 when the first RTC was held. Okay, so this is basically in coordination 1888. Sorry, 1888. So government of India has basically planned in this anniversary that we should give a bust of Gandhiji to IMO, International Maritime Organization. And then because of COVID, it could not be held. But this year, this was held in 2020, 21. This bust was given, and the voyages of Gandhiji was given, and it is placed at the IMO entrance, very entrance at the very where the Queen's at the left hand side. There is a Queen's. This one table is there, and right hand side there is a when you enter at the IMO, this is the bust of Gandhiji. Along with this, voyages is being kept there. So that is just for information. Thanks, Mike.
And I must just add on a little bit. Our chief guest, sir, is a very humble man. This entire historical coverage, getting it authenticated, going all the way up to Archives of India, and creating this collage of such lovely memory and such a proud thing has been done by Sir. And for those who may not be very familiar with the word IMO, IMO is International Maritime Organization. It is basically the wing of United Nations. Like for health, you have the World Health Organization. For finance, you have the International Maritime Monetary Fund, sorry. Similarly, for all maritime matters, it is IMO. Uska headquarters is in London. The bust, that designing, uska sab kuch, Sir was the main behind. Of course, our DG Sir in the Directorate General, additional DG Sir. It was a collective effort, but Sir has been a propelling. And the best part was to get a return gift. All the while we have been giving at a return gift, Milabha. Sir, thank you very much. So very nice of you, sir. Okay. Now, may I request one more. Thank you, sir. So one thing I will tell you, I'm a little off the record. सर को चीफ गेस्ट बनाइए, नॉलेज और वो तो आएगी आएगी, साथ में बहुत सारे गिफ्ट्स भी आते हैं ना. नहीं सर, बिग 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 थैंक यू. ऑफ कोर्स मेरे तो गुरु हैं ये, तो बिग थैंक्स फॉर इट. Now my request, Honorable Chief Guest, to kindly felicitate Speaker 1 of the day, Shri Nilesh Daveji, for his lovely presentation on Darya Ki Dhikri. What a historical reminiscence it was. I mean, it's also wrongte khade kar dene wali history, and which puts us so much of pride. All this while we have seen a women as Mata, Behne, and then seeing them as captain. Of course, nowadays we have a lot of young women mariner reaching to the upper echelon of the system, but it being 80 years before and nobody had heard of it. Sir, thank you. Big thank you. And I think PO sir will follow up your request to move it up to the postal department and have a postal stamp issued in a commemoration. So thank you. You can take, you are the best mentor now in that way. Okay. Inaugurate. Chalo, we have got a target now. The committee has got a target now. Okay. May I now request Honorable Chief Guest to kindly felicitate the Salaya Sailing Vessel Association, the director of that fabulous musical documentary. Again, the reminiscence, the pride history of Indian maritime seen through the eyes of the Nakudas and Malam Saab. When I joined shipping, there was Malam Saab, you know, Bada Malam Saab, Chota Malam Saab. I never knew the word originated from here, sir. So huge round of applause for the sailors with the music. May I request the Honorable Chief Guest to kindly pay a token of respect to Commander INS Valsura from the Indian Navy for his taking out his precious time and inspiring us by his presence, sir. May I request Honorable Chief Guest to felicitate, welcome and thanks Commandant Mark, Commanding in Chief, ICG Wadinar, for taking his time from his very busy schedule and inspiring us by his presence, sir. Then we had a lovely presentation a very complicated one with lot of IMO circulars. Even I did not know so much. Okay, sir. From Shri Sijaria ji, he was sort of presenting our point of view, how the administration looks at. And of course, when there is a little legal technical, it can be little, थोड़ा भारी हो जाता है. But sir presented so nicely, so easily, so sweetly, and I'm sure you must be having lots and lots of questions to him. You have his email, you'll have his presentations. Shoot him down. अभी आपको जितना भारी क्या है, अपन को भारी करना जाने के बाद, ठीक है? So may I request chief guest to kindly honor him, sir, please, sir. Ah. We had the ship owner's representation. He was on a little this thing, किस तरफ जाऊं, ship owners की तरफ जाऊं कि administration की तरफ जाऊं? Even though it, yes, and PO has taken due note of the concerns of the industry. Certainly, our Director General also, who is very enterprising and very interactive, has also taken notes of the concerns of the industry. And together we shall all make Indian Maritime Net Zero. With that, may I request Chief Guest Sir to kindly honor Shri Saurabh Gupta. Port section remains a major section, and who bigger than APCZ, and representing the Adanis, none other than Captain Pankaj Sinha. Lovely presentation. Good. In his presentation, you could see experience of being on ship, being with the, what do you call it, subsidiary of administration, IRS, and now being an entrepreneur. I mean, it was a complete presentation, if you say, so many elements covering, so many facets. Shri S.P. Sinha, Ask Marine. So may I request guests to kindly felicitate, sorry. Thank you, sir. Now for the vote of thanks. Well, I just get my pad. Honorable Chief Guest, Commander Sir from the Navy, Commandant in Charge Wadinat from Coast Guard, members of the NMDC Committee, from BORL Sir, Thakkar Sahab, all my friends and the young cadets, the future of Indian Maritime sitting behind there. What an afternoon it has been. A topic so contemporary yet so futuristic for a future generation. Whenever you look at your kid or a younger brother or a younger sister or even a small child on this thing, this topic is what comes into mind, and we are gathered together to see how best we can contribute whatever little bit in this direction. Honorable Prime Minister has made a fabulous commitment, and it's up to us, India as united, Indian Maritime as united, to live up to the expectations, not just for him, but for his future generation. I would like to say my thanks to the Honorable Chief Guest, Commander Sahab from Navy, Commandant Sahab from Coast Guard, who have found time in their extremely busy schedule to be here to inspire us. A huge thanks to the port fraternity, people who have traveled over distances from Dahej, from Hajira, from Mundra. I can see Captain Sachin Srivastav, Salaya, Okha, Pipava, all the ports, sir. I may not name them, but you know it. A big, big, big thanks for your taking your time out and traveling, taking the pains, sir. A huge thanks to the ship owners' representatives, OSL, Polestar, and so many over here, sir, for taking your precious time out, sir. Huge thank to the ancillary industry, to shipping, be it the shipbuilders, be it the ship breakers, be it the service providers. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks to the Maritime Training Institutes. You are the one who have the biggest responsibility. What you imbibe or what you install in your future generation is what the vision they are going to carry. Here, the industry is there for you. You can learn from them and you can teach the industry, sir. As was said in one of the presentations, research and innovation. Maximum rest with you. Huge thanks for taking your time out, sir. Thanks to the IRS. Thanks to the media who has taken time out to diligently cover this topic of such grave concern. The temperature outsides are hitting, sir. It is becoming bad and it is high time we catch up. I thanks the team members of NMDC, Sabuji, sir coming now, Dave Saab, okay. The team from MMD, we have the young girls sitting over there who have worked day in and day out. I would like to thank this particular space, the TGM. Such passionate they have been from the day we introduced this seminar to them. The entire team, Mr. Mahendra, who is the manager over here, he's here. He has not, I think, slept for a couple of days. He's there, yes, that young man smiling. My big thanks to the event management team, Mr. Vicky, to get this arranged in such short time, because there was a little bit of confusion as to like what the kind of permissions are there and all that. And when it was known that everything is relaxed, we went ahead and he did it in hardly any time and such efficiently. So thanks you all once again. And in case I have missed anybody, sir, believe me, you are in a thanks. Thanks a lot. So now we stand up for the national anthem.
मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की.
May I request all to kindly come for the lunch, please, sir? Thank you.